Good afternoon. Welcome to this second part. This is about different surfaces for coloured pencil and for graphite. So, the one thing I do have is lots and lots of sketchbooks. So, when it comes to sketchbooks, I've lost count of how many I've got, but there are lots and lots. I've got a couple of them here. Now, these are usually used for just sort of sketching out ideas or sort of little bits to get me in with the sort of project that I'm looking at doing, and all about the subject. And then I'll do a little sketch of it, which then I can use either to do a line drawing with, even for practicing strokes, pencil strokes. Again, just messing about with little images. So that's like a pen and wash that I did. So I use sketchbooks for all different reasons, but I use decent quality ones. Now, these are a gecko, and they're made with it's like a 300 GSM paper, so it's a good quality, and it's got a leather front with it. So that's one of the sketchbooks that I use. I've also got little ones by C. White of Brighton. Again, this is for putting in different techniques, ideas, sort of little fun sketches where I create other ideas from. Also, when I'm practicing, sort of like we've got here, this was for graphite, and I was testing out the different pencils and different techniques for foliage on trees. So, I've got like I used an HB up to a 4B. So I did it in layers, and I did it in like squiggles. So that was the first one. The next one was I did some graphite, and then I used the blender stump to try and create that. Then this was like a clutch pencil, which has got a thicker lead in it. It was a 4B, and I removed the highlight. And then this one was like a brush texture. Okay, so I keep these just for reference to go back into. As I say, they're great for just doing sketches and making notes on different pieces. And I've got lots of different ones of those. Then when it comes down to once I've got some ideas, as I say, I can sketch them in there. If I want to do a bigger piece, I use something like this, which is by Clairefontaine. It's a light drawing grained paper. But just for getting ideas down, it's great, but it's an A3 size, and there's 50 sheets in each pad. So that's ideal for if I'm doing a composition and I want to, I've got a bigger composition. Say it's got 4 or 5 different birds in it, it's back placing them and things like that. So that comes in handy for that. I also use the Daler and Rowney. This is an A4 pad, there's not much of it left. This is a smooth, it's a smooth heavyweight paper. It is, as it says there, it's 220 GSM. It takes all different things. It's acid free, and it's an A4, and it's Daler and Rowney, and it's a nice paper. It's a smooth paper, but it's quite thick, and it's great for doing a lot of graphite work on. So most of my graphite work is something that I don't do much graphite work over an A4 size, but that is handy for it. It's a great piece of surface to use. I have also in the past used Bristol Vellum Smooth, which I do like, but I think I prefer the Daly and Rowney Smooth one. Now, when it comes to my coloured pencils, there's 3 main immediate surfaces that I use. One of them here is this is Clairefontaine. It's Pastel Mat, and it's Pastel Mat board. So you can get this in various colours. This is the dark grey. You can get it in various colours. You can get it white, black, or anthracite, should I say? The dark grey, light grey, blues, reds. You can get it in all sorts of different colours. I mean, I mainly use either white, light grey, dark grey, or a sandy colour, depending on the subject, but I do mostly animals, so they're the colours that really fit in. I do anthracite from time to time. It's sort of glossy on that side. It's got a backing on it, and then if you look, it's got quite a tooth to it. So let me just try and steady that again because it's gone a bit skew with. Trying to make it so it's a bit more sturdy. So there we go. Yeah, so it has got a bit of a tooth to it. It feels quite smooth, but yes, it is. It's like a very, very, very fine sandpaper. And you can get a lot of layers on that. Now, one of the pieces that I've just done using the Pastel Mat is the cat, the kitten. So I've done this on Pastel Mat, on this colour as well, the grey. But it would look just as good on a drafting film, would that as well, because it's got quite a lot of detail in it. But I did that on sort of an A4 size. But yeah, Pastel Mat, you can layer and layer and layer. And you need to do lots of layers, but start off light. And when you're using coloured pencil on Pastel Mat, such as this, what I would suggest is your first layers, use pencils that are not too sharp. Now that sounds, I mean, like when you're using it on watercolor press paper, then yeah, I use sharp pencils. But if you're using when you're using Pastel Mat, you're going to use blunt pencils as well for mainly for the main part of it and for layering it up. So you don't need really sharp pencils, but when you come to put the detail in, then yes, you probably will sharpen your pencil. But you also can use so this one isn't quite, it's not sharp, but it's got a rounded tip on it, and you can use it on its side. And again, you layer up. So, because if you sharpen your pencils within 2 minutes using Pastel Mat, or in no time at all, you're going to be sharpening your pencil, which means you're going to be wasting a lot of your pencil. So, use for the first lot of layers, then use your either your blunt pencils or just round pencils, and keep turning them round. And then when you get onto the final layers, which is the detailed layer, then use a sharp point. I do use a sharp point when I'm doing the eyes as well, because obviously they're quite small, and the noses. So that's a few tips on with Pastel Mat. And as I say, you can use different colours. Now, some people don't do swatches or use their colour matching and stuff, but what I tend to do is I have a piece, any sort of pieces that I cut off, I keep, because when you put in colours on sort of this colour, they're not going to be the same as what they would look like on a white piece. So to make sure that I'm getting the right tone on that colour and I'm getting the right colour, then I do tend to do a little bit of mixing and messing on a spare piece of the Pastel Mat, and then I can see whether the colours are coming out exactly as I want them to. Right, the next sort of piece of surface that I use, which I used for a lot of years when I first started, and this is a hot press paper. Now this one is a Saunders and Waterford HP, but I usually use a Fabriano Artistico, and I usually get them in a pad or a block, and they're brilliant. And I used them for many years. But of course, the techniques you use on here are totally different to what you would use on Pastel Mat. So on here, you tend to do, there's a little bit of one there. You tend to build up your layers, but you work from light to dark. Whereas on the Pastel Mat, you can put light on top of dark. You can work dark to light. So you do have to get used to the two different technique styles for each surface that you're using. So what I would suggest is if it's a new surface to you, then just do a few practice pieces and try the different techniques to see which works on what. Now, this was a surface I came across a couple of years ago, and I do use it quite a lot. Now, I've got it in one big roll. I bought it in bulk, so I've got it in a roll that's 10 meters long, and it's well, let's have a look. It's actually Um, oops. The roll that I've got is it's 841 millimeters, and it's wait, but it's 10 meters long. So I just cut off the amount that I need and put the rest, roll it back up and put it in the tube. It comes in a tube. Now you can buy it in a pad, you can buy them in pads. Now I like the brand Graphics, and I use the 0.05 double matte. Now what that means is you can actually use your pencil on both sides. So you can see here I've done some colours on that side and on this side. So you can use on both. It's see-through, so it's a little bit like tracing paper. So if you wanted to, you can use it to put your image on. So you can see, look, you can see the image through there. I draw the image on now. That's the way I work. But some people, you could just put it on there. But it also means that by swapping the different coloured papers that you put behind it. So if you're working on, that's your that's your thing. So if you want, you can put a piece of plain cream paper behind it, and that's what it'll look like. Take it away. That's basically it on its own. And then if you want to, if you put a darker colour behind it, it changes the effect again. So you can use that to your advantage and put different coloured papers behind it and see what kind of effects you get. You might get a warm effect, a cool effect, a softer effect. And it's all down to just playing with it. Now, when you're using drafting film, you can't put as many layers on. And again, I work dark to light, but light to dark, I mean. So I put the colour on, I just more or less block it on. And I use drafting film when I'm dealing with an animal that's got quite a lot of detail, like we've got here, and fine hairs, which I want the detail to show out. So what I do for that is I use the slice tool. Now this is used a lot when I'm using drafting film. So the slice tool, when you've got enough layers on and you use it gently, that's how you can create the hairs on the piece that you're doing. Okay, so like here, you could create a few more hairs coming down there. Very fine. And then you can go back over with some more colour and then do some more pulling out. But you can only do so many layers. But it's great for animals that have got a lot of very fine fur detail. Now that's an dog's eye that I did just to, when I was first got this drafting film, just to, initially play about with. I was quite impressed with the results. So I do use it quite a lot. And I sold quite a few pieces from it. It takes a bit of getting used to. Um, and if you want the sort of colour, so you've got this brown colour here, but if you want a white to show through, then you could put some white on the background, on the back of the paper, so that when you turn it back around, where the white is, when you use your slice tool to remove, you see that's now gone a lot brighter because it's got the white behind it, so it's showing the white through. Or you could put your white down as your base layer. Excuse me. But because you can't put as many layers down, I usually put quite a few on the back. But yeah, that's the sort of effect you can get with drafting film. So you've got quite a few choices there. But don't forget, with coloured pencil, you can work on a lot of surfaces. If you prime them, you can work on wood, all different kinds of surfaces. So it's worth experimenting with. But as I say, my main ones that I use are either the hot press paper, drafting film, or the pastel mat. And what I do before I pick it is I obviously pick the image that I'm going to do or the commission, look at it, see how much detail is required and whether that detail or softness. I mean, if you want something to look really soft and fluffy, then pastel mat is great. if you want the detail to come through a lot more than drafting film. But also, I worked for a lot of years using watercolor hot press paper. But you do, if you've used that and then you use something like Pastel Mat before you will you'll probably think, oh no, Pastel Mat's not for me. I can't do it. It's not working. It's coming out awful. Um, and that's because you've got used to doing things in a certain way that when you come to use some Pastel Mat, you more or less got to retrain yourself to do things in a different way. And if you can do that, then use the Pastel Mat and you should be fine and just keep persevering with it. I mean, Pastel Mat I started using initially for pastel pencils. And I did produce quite a lot of work of it, but I don't do pastel pencils so much these days because I do have a lung condition. So um, I find it a little bit too dusty to work with. And that's why I moved on to coloured pencils. But I enjoy working with coloured pencils. Um, and I've enjoyed discovering the different surfaces. But as I say, my main surface for years was the hot press paper. But I do find myself now using more of the drafting film and the pastel mat as well. But as I say, you need to look at the subject that you're doing to make the right choice. So, if you're going to use different surfaces, then what I suggest you do is use some smaller pieces and just either do, I mean, if you're doing flowers, just do certain amount of petals or, just whatever subject you're doing, do a little bit of it and just try the different techniques and experiment. That's what it's about as well. It's about having fun and experimenting. I mean, I got into art just basically because I'd been, excuse me, I'd worked for a lot of years as a management accountant, quite a stressful job. And then I was taken ill, and I've had two new knee replacements, and I've got arthritis all over the body. So I suffer a lot of pain from time to time. Plus, as a lot of you will know, I lost my son last year, and art for me is a release, and it's a way to put all my energy into it and forget about the bad things in my life, the pain and stuff, and just try and create something good and encourage other people to take it up as well as a hobby. And I've come across some people when I used to have the art room, they used to come in and do some workshops with me. And some of them have gone on to do some absolutely fantastic work and they become really good artists. And I believe that it's in everybody. You've just got to get that ideal medium and pull it out of you. I started with oils, and then later on, I didn't do any artwork for a lot of years. I had a family to raise and a job to do. And then when I started again at 54, I discovered watercolors. I've done pen and ink, I've done pen and wash, I've done pastels, I've done colored pencils, I've done watercolor pencils. So I've done a vast array of mediums. But I think, I just like the variety. But the subjects I do don't change that much. I must admit, I do like birds and wildlife and also domestic pets, which I do a lot of. So, if you'd like to join me on my Patreon page, you will learn a few things. Um, I believe in teaching people the techniques and letting them develop their own style. So I don't expect, the videos I do aren't going to be about you must use this colour and you must put this amount on and you must work in this way. That's not my style. I like people to develop their own style of work. So I show you all the techniques that are there for you. And you pick which ones, you prefer to use, and then you mix them and you'll end up with your own style. And as I say, I've got quite a few people that have come to me for workshops and have left, and successfully they have become artists in their own right, and they do some absolutely fantastic work. But everybody's work is different, and that's the important thing. You've got to find your own style. But also, you've got to get a lot out of it yourself. As I say, it helps me a lot with helping me cope with pain, and also helping me cope with, I'm getting older, so and also the loss of my son. It helps me to keep going and produce something, and I put all my energy into it, and I really enjoy it. So, I would encourage anybody to take it up and just have a go. Okay, there's lots of different styles of art out there, and you can create your own version. But I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope the little hints and tips have helped you to pick what sort of pencils you want to use, if you're going to do pencils, or what paper surfaces you're going to use. Um, I will be doing one on watercolor as well shortly, but just for now, this is the colored pencil version. Okay, so thank you for listening, and I hope you join me on Patreon. Thank you very much for your time. Bye.